Well, that's weird. Hi, I'm True, and this is everything there is to know about the 10-meter rule. Now, if you've played around a bit in GTFO, you're probably intuitively familiar with two of the checks that occur when an enemy tries to lick you. The first is simply the check for the attack being triggered in the first place. Part of this check is whether or not you're within the trigger range, which varies per enemy. For example, on strikers it's 4.5 meters, and on giants it's 15 meters. So giants are allowed to start attacking you from further away. The second check is the corridor check, basically the hitbox of the attack. Something good to know about this check is that the corridor has infinite range, so it's generally a bad idea to try to run away from an enemy's attack. Instead, you dodge to the side. Right? So, what on earth is going on here? Well, it turns out there's a sneaky third check that occurs between the two previously mentioned ones. And crucially, this check also has a distance component, the attack's start range. This check occurs after the enemy has finished their wind-up animation, just as the tongue itself starts. If you're outside of this start range when this check occurs, then the attack just doesn't hit you, ever. Now, for most enemies, the trigger range and attack start range are set up such that unless you're Sonic the Hedgehog zooming around the complex at Mark 5, you're not going to be able to get outside of the start range within the wind-up animation. But then we turn to Shadow Giants. Their trigger range is the same as Giants, 15 meters, but their start range is just 10 meters, less than their trigger range. This means that if a Shadow Giant triggers their attack at anywhere close to their max range, you can stay still or even walk towards them, and they'll still completely whiff. As long as you're outside this 10-meter range when the attack starts, you'll never get hit. And it gets even more ridiculous against Shadow Giants in their crouching stance, since they have a very, 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 very long wind-up animation. You can literally start right next to them and still make it outside of the 10 meters before the attack starts. It's kind of hard to state how impactful this knowledge is. All you have to do is stay 10 meters away and you become completely immune to one of the scariest enemies in the game. This is the power of the 10-meter rule. You can use it to completely ignore Shadow Giants while dealing with other enemies, or use it to force the giant invisible enemy into revealing themselves with a completely futile attack. Bonus value if you have Sniper, since their completely ineffective tongue does a great job of pointing to exactly where their head is. So what about other enemies? Do any others have a 10-meter rule equivalent? Well, kinda, but it's nowhere near as impactful. Charges and Nightmares both have a start range pretty close to their trigger ranges, which means they'll whiff if you walk backwards when they attack at max range. The same is just barely true on Giants as well, but it really has to be just absolutely max range. And even though Charger Giants have the same trigger and start ranges as Giants, it doesn't work on them, since they both have a shorter windup and lunge forward as part of their attack. And on Strikers, Shadows, or Babies, well, it'll sometimes work if you're sprinting directly away, but it's not something to rely on. Unless you're Sonic, that is. And, well, that's pretty much it on the 10-meter rule. If you enjoyed the video, then feel free to do all of the YouTube things. And if you want to find out more details about how the different attack checks work in full detail, then you can check out the enemy attacks page on the GTFO wiki. Also, this is my second guide-style video. So if you want to find out why you should play on max FOV, then you can check out my previous video. And also, if you have any suggestions for guides you'd like to see in the future, then please let me know. Alrighty, take care. Bye.